Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Sunday talk within the Nine-Sided Circle. I am your host, Noor Kyle.
And I am her faithful sidekick, Mushtaq Ali.
Yes, thankfully. And we are so happy to have you joining us. We've got some new visitors, we've got some old friends, and of course, we have all of you watching on the replay. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We do really appreciate it. And uh brief spiel, I'm going to try to keep it brief, but we always say that. If you'd love to support our work, and we would love for you to support our work, of course, you can subscribe to our channel, like this video if you get something out of it, leave a comment, and what else should I say, Mushtaq? You can continue.
Yeah, simple. Like our video. We like to be liked.
Don't we all?
Yes, don't we all? And leave a comment because we love to hear from you.
Yes.
And do I get to say send us all of your money and your firstborn?
No, please, go for it.
Yeah,
We'll take
that
all of
too.
it.
Yeah. No, seriously. Yeah, we love it when you subscribe to the channel because that helps us out with the algorithm. And that means more people will see what we do. And it's hard for us to do that because, I mean, we suffer the minimum amount of advertisements that we can get away with. And, we don't do any of these things to promote ourselves. We don't buy ad space or any of that crap. We're just us, and the people will find their way here or they won't. And they will like it or they won't.
Hmm.
Um, And so if you do like it, consider subscribing. We've got thousands of people who watch the videos, and we could use more subscribers.
Yep. And if you want to hang out with us elsewhere, we do have our Facebook, we do have our Instagram. Things have been busy on my end, but I will be picking up with that, of course, next week with fresh posts. And as Mushtaq said, you can support our channel, our work, rather, our work at large. We are not just a YouTube channel. We do a lot of different things with small groups and one-on-one. All of the links for those things you can find in the description, but we do welcome any kind of support that helps us keep going, doing what we're doing, and offering free content like this to you guys. So thank you very much for that. All right, onward, shall we?
Shall we?
Let's do it. So our topic this evening, I also want to remind everyone, I'm sorry, but we do have our Morning Talk Sunday coming up next weekend. We will be doing our just one talk every third Sunday of the month now, and that's going to be our morning time. So that's going to be 10:30 a.m. Pacific time every third Sunday of each month. If our usual time at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time doesn't work for you, if you want to join us on Zoom, you've got a couple opportunities there. All right, so onward to our topic this evening. We have Is there a hidden directorate? Sufism, the Sarmoun, and Al-Khidr. Ooh, we're covering a lot of bases, aren't we?
Yeah,
The
but they all fit
mystery.
together.
Yes, as we'll see, won't we? All right.
Yeah, so you have to realize that we're going to do this a little bit differently than most people do. And that is, we're going to approach this like grown-ups. We will talk history when we have it. We'll talk testimony when it's sober and relevant.
Mhm.
And we will have a strong willingness to say, I don't know, because oftentimes that's the only honest answer.
Agreed. Yeah. And sometimes there's not enough of that these days, right? Just that humility to say, I have no idea, but let's work with what we got.
Yeah, so if you came here looking for the names of the secret chiefs, you're not going to get that. But you might come up with something a little bit more practical, a way to think about hidden guidance that doesn't require capes. No smoke machines, no surrender of your critical faculties.
Yep.
That's a new one.
Yep.
So we're going to set the table. For a very, very long time, there has been stories of unseen stewards, secret masters, um, hidden directorate, all of these things, the hidden masters. And this is not a new phenomena. Some of this goes back to uh, think about the Rosicrucians back in the, what was it, 16th century? Somewhere back there when people wore funny clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that was one of the early Western, hey, there are secret masters and they have all of this knowledge that they're willing to share with you if you are worthy.
And if we had $1 for all the emails we got with people asking us if we know anything about, the secret masters, how to find them, where they are, we'd have a lot of dollars.
Yeah. And the answer is yes, we know everything about the secret masters. We know where they live. We know where they hang out and play poker. And we're not going to tell you.
Their secret is safe with us.
Yes, that's why they're secret.
Yes, they clearly wouldn't be secret if you told them that.
Yeah. And so you have way earlier than that in the traditions of India, you have the rishis, which kind of qualify as the hidden masters. They're a bunch of people who used to live, maybe still live for all we know, high in the Himalayas, and they had profound understanding of the universe,
Mhm.
and they occasionally taught some people about it. You go a little bit later on into Indian history, and you have, and I love this because it became a an adventure novel by Talbot Munday in the early part of the 20th century called The Nine Unknowns. The story goes that King Ashoka had these 9 volumes of hidden wisdom, and he gave one volume to each of these 9 people to study and understand and disseminate where appropriate. And that's a story that's stuck with us ever since then.
Yep.
And then we have, and this is where we're going to get into a little bit more fun.
Well, I just want to pull in James's comment, and we have the Taoist Immortals
Yeah,
riding
those guys.
dragons in the void. Sounds fun. So, you were saying, Mushtaq. Then we have,
Then we have, I'm going to find there we go. Find my notes here because there are so many. Huh, I may have lost this.
anything I can help you with?
Nope, I lost it. Doesn't matter. I'll find it again. So
Okay.
we have various Islamic views on what is and is not the hidden directorate in Islamic mysticism.
Mm,
And one of the people who talked about that was Ibn Arabi. As a matter of fact, if you guys have read any of his work, he talks about meeting all of these important people, and he has a whole list.
yes.
And the first, the highest person on this list is the qutb, the pole, the axis of humanity, and he's like the head dude. After,
person.
yeah, after
Wow.
this, you have the autad, which are the pillars. They're just below the qutb, and they're responsible for maintaining the spiritual order of the four cardinal directions in the world. And then you have the abdāl, the substitutes. They're further down on the hierarchy, and uh, they are part of a larger group of hidden saints. And when one of them dies, God immediately elects a replacement, which is true of all of these. Um, and then you have spiritual administration. These are ranks of saints who are doing all of this hidden spiritual work in the world. Now, personally, I don't exactly take this as literal, and I don't take Ibn Arabi's idea that these people can be known because, according to my teacher, most of them don't know that they're part of this hierarchy.
It's almost better for them not to know.
Yeah.
That's as we'll see. We will understand why as we go forward.
So this talk is going to draw from three different documents. The first of which is Ibn Arabi's, in English, they call the book The Sufis of Andalusia.
In English translation, yeah.
Yeah. And there he talks about meeting with various members of this hierarchy and his meetings with Al-Khidr and stuff like that. It's very exciting stuff.
It's a fun read. It really allows us to have another view of Ibn Arabi as a person from his point of view about himself. Informative. But it is also it's an artifact of its time and of its milieu.
And this is something that has carried on to this very day. Back in the 19th century, Madame Blavatsky made hidden masters incredibly popular with her Theosophical Society. And her claim was that she was in touch with these masters and they were giving her all of this knowledge that she was then handing out to the world. And she wasn't the only one. You have in England the Golden Dawn, who was supposedly organized by the secret chiefs, who nobody but S.L. McGregor Mathers ever met. And they provided the same thing. They say, here's all of this secret knowledge. Share it with those that are worthy. And you find that to this very day. And our question is to ourselves more than anybody else, is this even worthwhile in the 21st century? Do we need secret masters now? So you have the invisible hierarchy. You have secrecy as a method, not as a mystique. Anonymity protects the work from cults of personality and the worker from projection. Do you understand that idea? Think of the Golden Dawn. Imagine for a minute that they actually had something of value. What happened? Well, several things happened. But one of the more interesting things that happened was Aleister Crowley came along and hijacked the stuff. And yes, I know if there's any Crowleyites there, they're going to say, no, he was really in touch with the secret chiefs and all of this. And it's a nice thought. No evidence for it. No evidence that Mathers was in touch with the secret chiefs. Nobody met this mysterious woman in Germany that supposedly gave them stuff, if you're familiar with the history. So you have all of these things that happen when you cannot protect yourself by being anonymous in your work. And cults of personality are one of the most dangerous things that can happen in this kind of work. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mhm.
So the third part of this is intervention by calibration. What do we mean by that? Intervention by calibration. Ideas seeded, institutions steadied, rulers tempered, no public command and control. This is not about being a puppeteer. It's about the Sufi way, which is to tilt probabilities towards sanity. It's a very humble proposition. It's like, it's hard to market, right? For 7 years, we have been telling you how to get more sanity in your life, if you choose to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't put it behind a paywall because people need this. Not to say that we're secret chiefs. If we were secret chiefs, they would pay us better.
We do what we can.
Yeah. Sometimes we do what we can't, which is
Yes. Um, yeah, and this is not about dunking people. This is about helping to, as we'll see, ease people into change rather than forcing it upon them in ways that are toxic and manipulative.
yeah, or unreal.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we chose, like I said, 3 documents, the first of which is Ibn Arabi, the second of which is J.G. Bennett's last book, The Masters of Wisdom, which stands as a happy medium between the first and the last. It's a book that came out shortly after he died. He was writing the last chapter when he passed away.
Mhm.
And it's funny how the last chapter was going to be about the masters of wisdom in the modern world. And he didn't get to write that. Nothing mysterious about that. And then the third book that we're going to talk from is a book called The People of the Secret by Ernest Scott. We will make a certain amount of fun of that last one if we're me, but there are still some useful and interesting things to consider in it. So let's look first at Ibn Arabi. He writes from experience, not theory. In his autobiographical notes, he describes a concealed hierarchy headed by the pole of the time, the qutb al-zaman. He reports meeting the pole, being permitted to say so, and being forbidden to reveal the person's identity. The office exists, the officer dissolves, is how I think of it. Recognition is not by title, but by unveiling. The Arab word for that is kashif. Am I saying that right, Yusuf? Not
Yep.
Yusuf. I mean, sorry.
We're making it work.
Yeah.
Sure.
Osama, yes. Sorry about that. I got you confused with Yusuf for some reason.
That's a good confusion. Look, that's an honor confusion. So Yeah, because
So that's the idea of you don't elect the pole. You are allowed to see the pole sometimes, if God permits. The the method is not fandom. If you are allowed to see the pole, it's correction. Think about that. If you're allowed to see the pole, it's correction. What is being corrected? Usually you. Who here listened to my little 2-minute video on Ibn Arabi's first meeting with Al-Khidr? Posted it later today.
Yeah. Yep. A couple people did.
I'm crushed.
Give it,
So
give it a moment.
I'll give you let me synopsize. Ibn Arabi gets into an argument with his teacher, and he goes storming off. He is in Sevilla at the time, which was the city that he grew up in. And he's walking down the street and he's stewing over this. And he looks up and sees this man standing in the middle of the street. So he gets close. The man looks up and says, "Submit to what your sheikh said." And Arabi is taken back and he turns to ask him something, and the guy just isn't there. He goes back to his sheikh, and his sheikh, before he even says a word, says, "The person you met in the street was Al-Khidr." And it corrected Ibn Arabi's course. Ibn Arabi suffered from arrogance for most of his life. He was, without a doubt, what we would call neurodivergent.
Yes, and he was something of a prodigy in philosophy and logic and all that stuff, given his unique talents and skills. And it made him a bit of a jerk at times. He thought he knew better than everyone else, and sometimes he needed a little
Yeah, you know it's
slap
bad when
upside the
Khidr
head.
shows up to tell you to shut up and listen to your teacher.
Yeah, like humble yourself.
Yeah, and usually people don't realize that they have talked with Khidr until way afterwards or shortly afterwards. Um, a dear friend of mine, an American woman who was married to a Mevlevi sheikh, was having a hard time. The stress of being in relationship with somebody whose job was ministering to all of these people all of the time was getting to her. And she went for a walk in the city of Capitola up on the cliffs, for those of you who know that area. And she sat down on uh, just like a park bench, was watching the ocean. And this old guy came up and sat next to her. Looked a little bit like Ian, had the beard. And they talked for like 20 minutes. And she couldn't even say exactly what they said, but she felt better afterwards. She felt resolved. And she turned to uh, thank him. And she looked at him and noticed that his eyes were emerald green. And he got up and walked off. And she never saw him again. Nobody else ever met him. Uh, and her husband confirmed that she had had a chat with Khidr. That happens. And nobody has to believe that it's real. The important thing is that it is real for it's real for the person that happened to. And RM says, "Wow, lucky she." Maybe, but being the partner of somebody in this work, especially when you also have to, as the sheikh's wife, you were expected to carry a lot of weight yourself, more so than most American girls at the time were used to. It's hard work. And she was part of a very important thing that created a lot of space for a lot of people to do work over many years.
Yep. And her burden was lightened for even just a moment.
Yeah, probably for the rest of her life because
Mhm.
she's always remembered that. I talked to her maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago, shortly after her husband died, just because I wanted to touch bases, and she was still doing well, still teaching.
Hmm.
So this is different than so Al-Khidr in Ibn Arabi's world is a living liminal guide. He appears at thresholds to adjust trajectory. It's he is beyond the institution, and sometimes he needs to audit the institution.
And he tends to have impeccable timing.
Yes, always impeccable timing.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Lots of people talk about receiving initiations from Al-Khidr. My take on this is 99 times out of 100, it's complete bullshit. First of all, if you receive an initiation from Al-Khidr, you don't talk about it. But especially these days, especially among non-Muslims for the most part, or non uh, people of Islamic traditions, you see people who promote themselves to teacher by claiming to have Khidr come to them in a dream and give them initiation and give them bayat, give them permission to teach. And in every time that I have ever seen that, it has ended in disaster. It has ended in creating a cult. So my take is that if you received an initiation from Khidr, part of that initiation would have been keep your mouth shut. People don't need to hear about this. You need to do the work. You need to be the person, but you don't need to take on errors. So that is the idea from Ibn Arabi. Yes, somebody put their hand up.
Sama.
That will be me. Um, this I agree with the idea, right? As far as the secrecy of it, right? Like if somebody goes through such initiation, because and also that there are people claim, well, not people claim, like within the Sufi system, there are initiations that kind of skip a generation. I forgot what they call it, but like they kind of skip the immediate lineage. So one can go to the peer's peer and whatever, be initiated in that way.
Yeah,
Um,
I have thoughts about that, but go on.
yeah. So talking about the secrecy of it, an interesting, oh, Ibn Arabi actually talks about this, not necessarily in this context, but talking about the difference between the initiation that Prophet Muhammad went through of Gabriel or the archangel or whatever it is, and a prophet or supposedly somebody who was getting initiated to be a prophet in Arabia before Muhammad, and that his prophethood failed because he couldn't make it public. He couldn't actually express it outwardly. It was his initiation was only internally, and how it just failed, and he ended up dying, according to Ibn Arabi. So if we do look at, let's say, Muhammad's story as an initiation of some kind of figure, like Al-Khidr, in his case, let's call it Gabriel. What if his initiation was like, what if he was silent in that initiation?
That's an interesting question. First of all, what makes you think those other prophets failed?
No, I don't think that they failed. This is according to Ibn Arabi
Yeah,
that,
and that's my question to Ibn Arabi. What makes you think that they failed?
well, the story that he used of this guy Ibn Sakhr or something like that he actually died, like he literally died, and couldn't actually take on that message, um, you know.
Yeah, and Allah's plan for him is beyond my pay grade, so I have to speculate a little bit. Astaghfirullah 450,000 times. Uh, if I saw that, I would say that is exactly what he needed and what people of his time needed. Otherwise, Allah would not have allowed him to die.
Well, true. I'm with that. The the th the idea that usually, which this kind of goes into the cults of personalities that you kind of talked
Yeah,
about before, where within part of that initiation comes in this personality aspect of, hey, I am chosen, I have a message. I mean, that's pretty, you know.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, I'm just bringing that up to not for it to have any some kind of resolution, but it's an interesting
Yeah, it's an interesting thought.
dynamic.
Mhm.
And it's something that I think we need to be able to come to some sort of resolution about.
Alka, do you have a thought or a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to share an experience. Now that you guys are talking about it, I think it's a good time for me to share an experience after. So, I went to this holiest of the holiest mountain for Hindu people. It's called Mount Kailash, right? Which is supposed to be the abode of Shiva. And I did this several years ago, and something changed. I was a different person. It was weird. It's like everything was logical after that. There was no fear. Anyway, doesn't matter how I changed, but I came back to India. The mountain is in Tibet, or now China. And I came back to India, and I just happened to be walking in my childhood roads, on my childhood roads, very familiar roads. And I was just looking at them after several years, but now in a different way. And at that moment, it was the strangest thing that happened. It was like, so just imagine, the road was always an open road, but now they had this block on the road with a chain hanging, like when you go to VIP clubs, there is chains with a hanging, right? So you can only walk, you cannot drive on that road anymore, or you cannot take your bicycle or anything on that road. And so now I'm walking like a zombie because of my time difference and jet lags and everything. And I'm walking and I'm remembering these roads from my childhood. And in this zombie mode, from my peripheral vision, I saw this person biking, and he looked like what we call over here is a kabadiwala, which is like they just collect your old stuff and for nothing. They give you a few money for your aluminium, and they're literally trash collectors, right? But they give you
Junk
money for
dealers.
your trash. What do you call them?
Junk dealers.
Junk dealers, right? So he's like a junk dealer. He looked like there's a certain way they have these old cycles. They carry the bags in the back, and he looked, to my peripheral vision, he looked like that. And in my total stupor, I calculated that he won't be able to bike on this road because now there is this block. And because for 30, 35 years, I was only speaking in English and not in Hindi, I just turned around and simply asked him in my complete American English, do you need help? Right? And he said, yes, please. He answered in English, which I'm not thinking. I'm just thinking I'm talking to this person. And he's like, yes, please. And I put my foot on the on that chain, right? So that now he can walk on it because the chain is not on the floor. Like it's on the floor now. It's not in air. And he just walked past me. He biked past me and he turned around. He said, thanks a ton, which is again a very American English to say. And his eyes just simply twinkled. He was the most handsome man I've ever seen. But I wasn't looking at him earlier, and he had green eyes. His eyes twinkled, and he just smiled like, wake up. Like as if he was saying, wake up, I'm Shiva, right? You can find me anywhere. I'm around you. Like it was like, because I was not awake at that time when I was walking. And ever since then, I have bowed to every human being I meet, every human being, thinking, you could be that Shiva, right? You could be that Shiva. He just humbled me. I was like, who was this guy? He was talking to me in an American English. He appeared to be like the junkyard guy. But he was so handsome. His eyes twinkled, he had green eyes, and he literally woke me up. Nothing else has woken me up like this one conversation with this guy. So I just wanted to share that story.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Alka. You never know.
And that's a perfect segue into what we're going to mention next about this. We think of the Khidr function. And this is much less about a man in a green cloak, and especially if he's floating down the river on the back of a fish. This is more about learning to first open yourself to that which can center you on your path when you need it. And at the same time, not learning to discern between a true voice of centering and your ego telling you the shit that you want to hear.
Oof.
Yeah. And that's a hard one. And that's not one that is easy to learn by yourself. It's best to have partners to do this with.
Mm-hmm. People to reflect what you're saying, what you're doing back to you so you can see it through another's eyes.
And to evaluate it.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
the question that my teacher always said is, after you have a revelation like that, first of all, you have to protect the messenger. Learn quickly and move on. Don't try and drag them home for dinner. Unless that's the lesson, but that's different. Then you have to test what you've been given. The question is there more truth? Is there more mercy? Is there more reality? Or is there just more story?
Mm-hmm.
Khidr is the messages of Khidr you recognize by result. not by a costume you can put on. And no matter how big your turban is, how many times it wraps around the cap, it does not make you one little bit more holy. Yeah, there's an interesting thing about silsilas jumping somebody and somebody getting initiation from Khidr. There's one Naqshbandi lineage that did this. And everybody else looks at them like they're crazy because it took place in the fourth generation of the Khwājagān before there was a Bahauddin Naqshband.
So before the Naqshbandis were
Yeah,
Naqshbandis.
it's before the Naqsh. It was way before. It was 200 years before Bahauddin Naqshband was born.
Mm.
And we all know the lineage of that because it's our lineage too. It's our lineage. Yeah. It's the Naqshbandi lineage. It's the Kubraisi lineage. It's the the Bektashi lineage. It's all of these.
Bunch of sprigs on the same branch of a.
And there were 4 lines that came together in Yusuf Hamadani.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 of them came through Ali. One of them came, they say, through Abu Bakr because he was the maternal grandfather of Jafar al-Siddiq. And for some reason, this particular lineage didn't want the second or third sheikhs of the lineage mentioned. So they claimed that the 4th guy was initiated by Khidr, and there was a break in the lineage before that. But we all know that that's false. But
politics.
It's politics, and it's the politics of Shia versus Sunni at a certain level, because that allowed this particular group to say, well, all of the other Sufi groups come from Ali, and they're a little bit suspect, but we come from Abu Bakr, and therefore, we're the real Sunni tariqah. And we don't need to go into why that's stupid, but that's one of the problems with claiming initiation by Khidr. And it's interesting because the guy who they're claiming was initiated by Khidr, he never claimed that. He had meetings with Khidr from time to time, but he knew where his silsila came from. It wasn't until 400 or more years afterwards that this came into the game.
What was that word, silsila, that you used?
Silsila, it means the chain. It's the chain of initiation.
Yeah, it's like lineage.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, so each of us can count the teachers by name from the Prophet Muhammad to today in an unbroken succession. And that goes for most of the tariqas. There's the Owaisi, the song that Noor likes to sing about. And he never had a physical initiation because he couldn't leave his mother. But that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, that's the term that I was looking for, Owaisi. That's the kind of initiation that I was referring to.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's usually not an initiation by Al-Khidr. That's an initiation by Awaisi Qarani. who will come in a dream and
Right.
initiate somebody. Again, could be suspect, but the main
Recognized by the results.
yes, that's exactly where I was
Yes.
going. The main thing about any contact with Al-Khidr or the divine community of saints is that you recognize it by the results that it produces, not the costumes that you put on.
Not the titles that they claim or that people give them or anything of that nature.
Yeah. So the second part that we look at is J.G. Bennett in his book. He talks about the Khwājagān, which are people we were just talking about. They were organized 1,000 years ago around the area of Bukhara. Yusuf Hamadani was a teacher that came up out of Hamadan, which is in Iran. And he and most of his students came from Iran to Bukhara and created this group. Interesting group because so many important people came through that lineage. And Bennett sees the fingerprints of the Khwājagān as trans-historical. Historically centered in the area between the Amu Darya and the Sir Darya rivers. Bukhara, Samarkand, Herat, places like that, where the knowledge met and mixed and traveled along the Silk Road. Their preference was method over charisma, service over spectacle. They avoided fame like the plague. They deposited techniques and standards that made renewal possible, according to Bennett. And if you want to find the actual Sarmoun Brotherhood, you look at these people. They never called themselves Sarmoun, but well, there are things that have to do with the bee that we don't need to talk about here. But Sarmoun was a convenient way for Gurdjieff to be mysterious.
He loved that.
He did love that.
Any
That way,
opportunity.
nobody was going to go and find his sources.
Awfully convenient.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, I mean, that was his way. He did not want people getting lost in the details. He wanted them to just be mystified and then focus on getting shit done.
now we have RM has a long post here. We should
Yes,
read
this
it.
was back about Ibn Arabi. I thought I might bring it in later when we wrapped up, but she was saying doing the work, not the fantasy of work, because spiritual bypassing is easy. It's like talking about exercise, but not hitting the gym. I don't know. Ibn Arabi was knowledgeable and practically executed his knowledge. Fantasy is cognitive bias. Even then, Ibn Arabi was corrected by Al-Khidr.
This is indeed the case. So, Bennett's Sarmoun motif, we like to call it the B logic, which is gather, refine, release. Remember those three: gather, refine, release. And that's for knowledge, for whatever the world needs. Lots of people debate the literal existence of a Sarmoun order. And boy, I have seen over my lifetime so many people go, well, I went and I looked for the Sarmoun Brotherhood and I couldn't find it. Therefore, it doesn't exist. Never once asking the question, why would the Sarmoun Brotherhood want you to find them? Because that's the real question. What have I told you? That though the name is imaginary, the group is real. It exists. It could be your neighbors, for all you know. People living next door to you might be the Sarmoun, and you would never know it unless they wanted you to know. They are the epitome of a phrase that we use, hidden in plain sight.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some ways that you know that Gurdjieff was full of shit. One of which is that he put the Sarmoun in a monastery in the Hindu Kush. And that particular group, like most Sufi groups, don't do monasteries.
It's not really
It's not
really
it's not the
thing.
Sufi way, Ralph.
Mm.
By the way, if you want to understand Sufis, you need to watch The Jewel of the Nile.
That's a film. Yes, worth watching. I enjoy it. We should
Yeah.
watch it again soon.
And so the Hindu Kush is not a place where they would hide, as a rule. Maybe at some point they did. But it's hard to do your work in the Hindu Kush if your work is making the world a slightly better place. Now, Gurdjieff understood that because when he created his fourth way, he reframed the work as work in life, transformation without leaving the world. And he crafted shocks inside ordinary situations rather than being locked in a monastery on the top of a mountain where things happened.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you take the Sarmoun account literally, the influence on Bennett is clear. A bias towards portable method, practical reconstruction, and anti-charisma hygiene. When you look at the Khwājagān, at the Masters of Wisdom, which was a real group, we got a historical attestation to this whole lineage. They had some very, very clear ideas on spiritual hygiene. One of which was never involve yourself with the rich and the powerful. Stay away from kings and princes. Attend to make a poor man your friend. That was there's a great letter that one of the sheikhs of the order wrote to his son, giving him advice. And someday we'll do a talk on that. So is this making sense so far?
Any questions so far, Ian?
Well, I was just going to comment that I think one of the things that Gurdjieff did brilliantly was titling Beelzebub's Tales, because Beelzebub, according to the lore, is somebody who you cannot trust. And
Father of
although,
lies.
yes, and although at the end of the book, he is supposedly, what's the word? Redeemed. All of the stories have to be treated with extreme caution. And I think it's worth noting that the Sarmoun, I don't think the Sarmoun are mentioned in Beelzebub. They're from
No, they're from meetings with
meetings with, yeah.
remarkable men.
But even so, Beelzebub was a precursor to that, and I think
Yeah.
perhaps a warning to not take everything that he said as, certainly not as literal truth, as evidenced by wooden spaceships and the sun is cold, all of that nonsense.
Yeah. So one of the ways that you know that the Sarmoun or the Khwājagān have been working is you don't notice while they're working, but they leave the place working better than it did the day before they showed up. And as a rule, they don't never take credit for it. People don't even know what happened. Then Gurdjieff comes onto this particular scene, and he's in his meetings with remarkable men is where he talks about the Sarmoun monastery. He uses the Armenian spelling with the G on the end.
Mm.
The keepers of ancient know-how. And it was an interesting bit of mythology. And it did two things. One is it got people imagining what could be. And two, it kept a whole bunch of really annoying people away from real teachers. And that's just as important. Why do I say that? Let us dialogue.
Yeah, I'm reminded of a story that I mentioned a long time ago. And I don't remember where I came across it, but it was about a Sufi teacher who sent one of his pupils off to somewhere in Asia with a book to disseminate it. And I forget whether it was before or after I think it was maybe after he came back. He asked the teacher, "Why did you want me to disseminate this?" And the teacher said, "Because it's a good way for us to determine who we're not interested in, i.e. the people who got interested in that book." I wish I could remember where I read it. It was a long, long time ago.
Yeah. And I've heard that story too, and I can't remember where it comes from, but God knows it's true.
It does sound familiar. I cannot recall either, but
Yeah, somebody will tell us in the comments where it came from. My suspicion is probably out of one of Idris Shah's books.
Yeah, I was thinking that most likely from his Tales of the Sufis.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Sounds like something he'd say.
James has commented, says,
Yes.
camels, eyes of needles.
Oh,
How
well,
much time and effort are you going to risk on a narcissistic predator class?
this is in reference to his earlier question. What if the rich and powerful need to be improved?
The prophet Jesus told us what the rich and powerful need to do. He said, follow the law. The rich guy says, I already follow the law. Tell me what the most important commandment of the law is. And Jesus says, love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your might and all your soul, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. And then Jesus says to him, and if you really want the kingdom, if you want the heart of the kingdom, give away everything that you own and follow me. At which point, the rich man wandered off because he wasn't interested in giving up all of his wealth. And we get the camel and needle metaphor.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Khwājagān were not entirely disengaged from politics and all of that stuff at large. It's that they held it at a distance so
Yeah.
that they could have that opportunity to speak truth to power from a detached place that left them less at risk for being caught up in the politicking and the drama and the manipulations and the schemes and the transience of politics at the time.
Yeah, it wasn't until Bahauddin Naqshband that that line started dealing with kings and princes and such. Most of the early Khwājagān refused every gift from a ruler that was sent to them, no matter how opulent. If they did accept a gift, they turned around and gave it away to feed the poor.
Mm. Yeah. Yes. James adds, ruling classes can't help but appropriate and or distort any message into their own agenda.
Yeah,
Pretty much, yeah.
and that's the thing. You know, Noor and I live in one of the richest places on the planet. There are more billionaires per square mile here than I think anywhere else.
We are not one of them.
We are not
Not
one
even
of them.
close. Not
And
even
we don't
close.
have anything to do with any of them. And I don't think we ever will, because it would be a problem. But they're welcome to look at our videos and learn from them.
Mm.
So we've looked at that. We've looked at how Bennett looks at this and looks at the reframing of the Sarmoung. And then we have Ernest Scott. And this is where the idea of the Hidden Directorate comes in. And there's a caution here. Ernest Scott's book, The People of the Secret, has a thesis that there is a hidden directorate, an inner executive tasked with humanity's long-range evolution.
So, yeah, inner executive, like some
Yeah,
kind of
the secret chiefs.
secret chiefs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta love it. All right.
Yeah, it creates conditions. Um, the way I read it is that this group creates means and methods and milieus and sets them out in the world. Scott pretended that the trail leads to the Afghanistan and Central Asian axis. And the directorate tends to work from within existing bodies, translation, movements, guilds, monastic and chivalric forms. This would be in the past. There's a lot of this book is good. The problem is that he is full up to his eyeballs with motivated reasoning. And his biggest motivation and his logical error is that he wants everybody to believe that Idris Shah was the head of the secret chiefs in this book.
So kind of setting up the dominoes to knock him down.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this guy.
And so
Idris Shah.
you have to bear that in mind when you read it. He triangulates on converging clues, timing, symbols, recurrent methods, a hint at the identity of the secret chief among the people of the secret. And like I said, this drifts it right into motivated reasoning. Selected confirmatory data, ignoring everything else that might disagree with it. Narrating backward from the desired outcome, and preferred method of protagonist over distributed process.
So focusing on like a central character.
Yeah.
As opposed to a more expansive sense of lots of things coming together for a common purpose.
The thing is, his hints can serve as heuristics, questions to test against independent evidence and outcomes. The caution to that is that you don't mistake a narratively satisfying who for a verifiable what works. If there were a secret chief, they'd probably be the one who declines the byline and returns the draft with a lot fewer adjectives. I said that just for Noor. She's my secret
jokes. Yes. Yeah. So basically, someone, if there is a secret chief, if someone were to talk them up, they would just kind of not buy into their own press, to continue the metaphor, and reject any kind of attention on themselves.
Is this making sense so far? This is all foundational for the last part of this.
I am trying to follow along. There's bits and pieces that maybe, maybe, but I'm trying to follow the reasoning behind it and maybe some of the logic. It was interesting when we were talking about, or when James commented about ruling classes, because it seems like that's like the 3D material manifestation of that, and we kind of like, we're talking about it in a spiritual sense, but when we're talking about it in a material sense, it was kind of like we all understood, oh, ruling classes. Oh, okay, there is such a thing. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to follow, but I'm looking forward to the.
Yeah, I don't think of them as ruling classes. I think of them as moneyed classes, because I am pretty sure when I check inside that Peter Thiel or Elon Musk do not rule me. So I make that distinction, probably poorly, but I think that's an important distinction.
Is that helpful at all, Osama?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I totally agree with that. I mean, it's clear that Musk has certain kinds of influence, but on the other hand, it can backfire on him, like it did in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, where he threw all this money at it and his own time and got defeated. And I was kind of appalled today to see that he's once again trying to interfere with UK politics by supporting the far right.
Yeah. And Denmark politics. I don't know if you people have heard, but Denmark is sending back its Teslas. The government and certain corporations bought fleets of Teslas and they're sending them back. They aren't sending them back because they are malfunctioning. They're sending them back because they consider that Elon Musk has his values do not align with the country of Denmark's values. And I take incredible delight in that for a simple reason. My philosophy professor, Dr. Peter Kostenbaum, was hired by the Danish government to move to Denmark and build a ethical structure for Danish business and government. And I look at this and I see Dr. Kostenbaum's hand from the grave.
May he rest in peace.
Nancy says, I'm assuming Mushtaq means that Musk doesn't control his mind. Musk does not control my mind, nor does he control my body. There is no part of me that Musk controls.
This is something for us all to remember right now. I mean, there is a lot of fear, there is a lot of chaos, there is a lot of danger. And yet, in this moment, we still have agency over our minds and our bodies.
Yeah. And yeah, Musk has enough money that he could make life difficult for me, but he cannot make me say yes when I mean no. And he can't make me say no when I mean yes. He can't say, stand here and I'll do it.
Mm. Were you unmuted for a moment, Nancy, or was I misseeing that?
Yeah, earlier, but I think the conversation's moved on.
I'm sorry I missed it. I apologize.
It's okay. Maybe I'll use the raise hands thing that's more conspicuous.
It is easier for me to see that. Yes, thank you.
And James says, powerful magicians in the kingdom of not knowing, and powerful magicians in the kingdom of not giving a shit. Some of us hold dual citizenship.
Oh, I
Amen.
was thinking
Amen.
one thing, that Idris Shah could not possibly be the secret anything.
Well, because
I mean, he was a very public person.
Yeah, and he spent lots and lots of time, effort, and money convincing people that he was the secret of everything, or the person sent by the Hidden Directorate to take care of the world.
He had a lot invested in that notion, didn't he?
Yeah. Let me give you a hint. Most people are pretty sure that Idris Shah actually authored this book. How do we know? He liked pseudonyms. So for the teachers of Gurdjieff, which he wrote, he used the pseudonym Raphael Lafort, which if you say really fast comes out as real effort. And when you talk about Ernest Scott, you have to remember that Idris Shah, for all of his talk about, being an Afghan prince, is the son of a Scottish working woman. So an Ernest Scott. James?
Somewhere I can't remember where I think it was in a novel. I've never been able to track it down. There was a phrase, powerful magicians are performing in the Kali Yuga. Do not become distracted. And it's something I practically want on a t-shirt because I think it's become more and more true with the passage of time.
I really like that.
Um, wish I knew. I think I read it in a science fiction novel or first encountered it. But every time I Google the phrase, I get nothing.
Mm.
Then the
So I
phrase
don't know.
belongs to you until you find an attribution. And
It's one.
you should make a t-shirt. I would buy it.
I'll make it. I'm seriously thinking of that. Anyhow, that's my shallow contribution there.
All right, shall we
Shall we
continue? Yeah,
toddle on?
let's toddle on.
So, part of the way that it has always been done is that the old optics don't travel well. Opacity has costs. And in this age, secrecy can shelter abuse. Algorithms reward spectacle, not competence. Humility is practically unpublishable. Our world is polycentric and fast. A single lineage won't steer it. There is no way that one group of all-powerful, wise individuals is going to control this world.
Yeah, this is a complicated world that we live in.
And the old ways have set up real possibility of abuse. I'm thinking of two people. Both are women. Both are spiritual teachers. One is very well known with millions of followers and gets thousands of dollars from them. And it's a pure cult. And people love following her because she tells them the right stories. I'm not going to mention the name, but yes. Now, on the other side is a friend of ours who is a brilliant healer. Most people don't know her, doesn't have millions of followers, could if she wanted to. She's articulate. She is concise. She is incredibly competent. But what she isn't is self-promoting in the way that the first person is. She doesn't claim to have all sorts of spiritual powers. She doesn't claim to have a special childhood that made her one and only, because the secret is that if you claim that, you have set yourself aside from the rest of humanity. And the Khwājagān, the masters of wisdom, are first and foremost human beings. They are no different than anybody else. They didn't start out with a special blessing from on high. They didn't have special signs over their birth, even though stories later gave them such. They were just people, good, intelligent people who sat down and did the work and followed it to the end. And that's what it takes. So in this time, we need to turn our backs on that old stuff. The thing is that fake gurus are a growth industry right now. And the red flags are depressingly consistent. They are, I made a list, charisma over craft, money opacity, isolation from family and community, secrecy used as leverage, sleep or food manipulation, sexual boundary violations, hostility to feedback. Those are some of the ways that you realize, oh, I'm dealing with a cult. And it's important to see these things.
Yes, Nancy?
Oh, just previously you've mentioned lack of, I don't know, endpoints of accomplishment. It's like the students never get done.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is not limited to spiritual paths, but it definitely is there. Nobody in these groups rises to the level of the teacher. Whereas in the lineage of the Khwājagān, the only brag you ever hear is from this teacher or that teacher. I raised 20 khalifas in my lifetime, meaning 20 people who he raised to his level of awareness, who could go out and teach on their own. Yeah, and that was their badge of honor. Not that they were great, but that they helped other people become great.
Did I see you unmute, Osama? No? Okay. Yeah. And that's really the goal, is to take the focus off oneself. Once you're always working on yourself, that never ends. But in so doing, in working on yourself, the idea is that you're sharing what you learn with others to lift them up as well. Yes, Osama.
I was reading a book the other day. Dang, it's an Arabic book. I forgot the name of it. But in it, there was a line that the author was talking about the three classifications of the people involved within the Sufi path. And he classified them as three things, or he says that the Sufi system classifies them as three things. The first one is the Sufi, which is the already quote unquote enlightened ones, they're whole.
The cool kids.
Or complete, yeah. And then the second one is mutasawwif, the aspirant, the person who's on the path. And then the third term, which I found to be interesting, mustawsif, meaning a pretender, a Sufi pretender, or museum Sufis, as
Yeah.
you would say. And the phrase that he said that among the Sufis, the pretenders are like flies. Among other groups, they're like wolves. So,
Oh man, that's good.
yeah. So to the Sufis, the pretenders are like, you just kind of, you
Swat them
know,
away. Get out of here.
you're moving, you're doing a lot of this.
Mm.
However, they can also be dangerous, right? And
Yeah.
so this
People,
reminded me of what you said as far as like attracting some of the bad people so that they don't, they
yeah.
don't do harm in the world. But the other thing that I wanted to share was that from the email, what the description about this talk that really stood out to me was I think in the last paragraph where it says sketching a new kind of guidance fit for now, visible enough at the edges, discreet at the core.
Mm.
Yeah. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about next.
Okay.
Yeah. But did you have thoughts about that before I jump into it?
No, really, that was the thing that stood out most because
That's what this whole talk has led up to.
yeah, how much of the secret, or not the secret, how much is to be revealed, how much is to say in the Holy of Holies chambers kind of a thing, and yeah.
Yeah. And the answer for me is that the practices, insofar as people can learn them on their own without hurting themselves, need to be revealed. It's a must. And sometimes, I mean, there have been a number of times, and I'm coming up on this with a group that I have just created for my own personal enjoyment on time dilation. You take a totally Sufi Muslim practice and you grab a file and you file off the Islam so that it doesn't scare people. And then you give it to them and they do it. And then it works really good for them. And you say, oh, by the way, that was a Sufi practice. Did you know that? That's always fun. But yeah, that's these days, we have to keep the marrow of the teachings and retire the mystique. And what remains is refreshingly practical. And as Osama said, the principle is make the edges transparent and the core discrete. Publish the aims, the methods, the guardrails, keep the identities minimal, organize as cells with pretty amorphous to no absolute leadership. And you have to use consent first catalysts.
Like, people give their consent to participate in a process of transformation.
Yeah, and that's incredibly important. A lot of teachers back in the day assumed that if you showed up to listen to what they had to say, they had the right to fuck with you as much as they wanted to. Apply the shocks, as it were. I remember one teacher, a friend of mine, he was a arrogant and pompous business British guy, though I loved him dearly. And he decided that he was going to apply shocks to this dude who just showed up. He ended up getting punched in the face. Yeah. And I didn't stop it because he deserved to be punched in the face for what he was doing. He had no permission to do that. So
it gets down to, respecting
people's boundaries.
Yeah, and the other, respecting the inwardness of the other. Ian.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if the person who punched him was a British guy, I know of many British types who that would be exactly their reaction.
No, he was American, but the guy who got punched was British. He is the reason why the Australians refer to the Brits as Poms. Ian, not Ian, James. Do you know why you guys refer to the British as Poms?
Well, it started off as pomegranates.
Oh, because they're red?
Because they got burnt red under the Australian sun.
Yeah.
That's how it began. That's like way
back,
actually it wouldn't be that far back.
Yeah, and then it transferred to the idea, using a little bit of Cockney rhyming slang, probably.
Oh.
It became pompous.
Well, that's interesting because that's also the well, it's less now, but back in the day, that was the Australian stereotypical assumption of what a British person would act like. Because we've got, you are the colonials and we are the mother country, and you're all barbaric savages riding kangaroos and getting drunk 24/7. And half right.
And I must apologize for my ancestors because it's a true characterization.
There's half truths in it on both sides, I think.
Yeah.
When you got used to ruling the world for however long, the empire in which the sun never sets until the sun set firmly on it, however long they lasted for, I mean, it's going to affect you culturally. It's going to affect your assumptions.
Yeah. But be that as it may, Even the English cannot hold a candle to spiritual teachers. We all run the risk of being pompous. And the act of taking oneself seriously is the first step down a long staircase to hell.
Risky business.
Very risky business.
This is why I think God is looking out for me, because he keeps embarrassing me all the time. My
There
life
you
seems to be a
go.
series of pratfalls and nothing fatal, nothing damaging, but really, you look like a fool. It just, yeah. So I'm blaming God on that, and then trying to up it to something spiritual. That's my defense.
So one of the ideas for now, for the secret chiefs to let out into the world at this very moment, is what we call open source toolkits. And these toolkits will contain tools for deepening attention, decision hygiene, conflict transformation, and craft standards. And authority, excuse me, authority follows outcome. Let me repeat that. Authority follows outcome.
So we mentioned earlier about, yeah, what is the, where is it? Yes, we were talking about recognizing by results. This is what we mean here.
I think it was Jesus who said, by their fruits shall you know them.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you have to establish not just an ethical standard, but an ethical system. For instance, Noor and I act as ethical systems for each other. If I'm doing something stupid, trust me, she'll tell me. And vice versa, though she rarely does. And there are other people. Cherie isn't here, so I can embarrass her and say that she's one of the people who I trust to tell me if I'm ever full of shit. Because she's blunt about such things.
She's good at it. Yeah.
Yeah, but
she's got a comfort with doing that is admirable.
yeah.
Yes.
And Nancy hits a really good one, which is to keep track of what a group promises you.
Yes.
The old phrase under promise and over deliver could have been invented in a Sarmoun monastery.
This is partly from John Attic, who does a lot of YouTube about Scientology. And the thing is that Scientology promises people tremendous freedom, but all they give you is tighter and tighter control.
Yep. Yeah, ATAC is really good about such things, and I found his book very useful.
Well, I also think like this topic in particular, I was talking to my friend about it today, slightly. The the I guess maybe having the tools be available out there also. Having AI, you have these quote unquote gurus, ChatGPT sheikhs and healers and whatnot, learning the language, learning the terminology, learning the etiquette, learning all that stuff, and then saying, here's all of this. I can take you and I can demonstrate, quote unquote, based off of this external knowledge, right? Like, how does, one doesn't waste their time in sifting through to see what results should they look for? What is it really? If all this knowledge is, as far as this external knowledge is there, as far as the tools, the terminology, all
Yeah.
of that kind of stuff. It's like it's all out there in some kind of way.
Well,
Um,
I know what I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to assume I know exactly what you're saying, but what comes to my mind in this moment, as I'd prefer to frame it, is that a lot of the quote unquote secrets are already out there because they've already been fed into the AI, and the AI can spit out, like, nuanced discussions of exegesis and picking apart the meanings of words and describe what allegedly one is supposed to feel at such and such state or station. It's just words. It's not having the experience. It can't demonstrate what that looks like to you
And it
in
can't
real life.
recognize when somebody achieves it.
Yeah, and it can only do what it always does, which is good job, sweetie. You'll never get honest feedback from AI as it stands today, right now. And even human beings, we do couch things a little bit gently or a little bit more harshly than maybe the 100% objective truth, because we're human and fallible in our perceptions and our discernment as well. But we know for a fact that built into AI, even when we ask it to be straightforward with us, it is not seeing us. It is not connected with us.
well, the AI itself, yes, I'm saying the people who use it
And that's, yes, absolutely.
to to
Then it
be to
becomes
do
a
that kind of
way.
manipulation, right? Where it's like,
That's the word that comes to my mind too,
yeah.
is manipulation. And that, I think, is where it does get really precarious.
Hmm.
And it's going to be more and more challenging, especially when we're not together in person, for example, to see that lived embodiment of wisdom in action. I mean, even this milieu has its limitations. You don't know how squirrely I get when the camera gets turned off. I own that though. Like, I get that. And I'm doing the best I can to live the values that I have been able to bear witness to. The revelations that I have been humbly able to bear witness to. I do my best to live up to how much I value them, how sacred I hold them. And for someone who's spending, a couple weeks just like doing the equivalent of cramming for an exam on what it means to be a Sufi master, I am concerned about that. I do think it's very easy to portray the image, and we will have to learn. We will have to teach ourselves and each other how to be more discerning in the face of that challenge.
Amen.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Nobody can take you to a place that they themselves have not been. Think about that. You want to go to New York and you're sitting in Los Angeles. You have a friend who says, I'll guide you to New York. And you hop in the car and you get going and you end up somewhere in the Mojave Desert, and you take a turn onto a side road. And the next thing you know, you are surrounded by cactus and ocotillo. And you look to your friend and said, I thought you could guide us. And he said, well, yeah, I have this map. And you say, but have you ever been there? And he says, oh, no, you don't need to go there to guide somebody. that person is wrong.
Will we be fooled otherwise?
Oh, hell
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
The people who are least capable of guiding you are the greatest showmen. You know, they will put on the Sufi costumes or whatever costume you want and dance around and get you to do all sorts of crazy stuff and boggle your mind and hypnotize you and get you to give all of your secrets to them and then use all of those secrets against you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in part, this is why we have to be judicious when it comes to even us like talking about being Sufi, Sufism. Like there's a mystique to that just inherent to it. And that can be problematic in and of itself. So I know that it can be disappointing for some to hear, well, maybe we should be a bit more discreet about those aspects of it, simply because, I mean, people ask us, what's your lineage? What's your lineage? And we get cagey about it because as we see it, that is a distraction. It's not us being dishonest. It's not us being disrespectful. On the contrary, we are doing our best to respect the things that we have learned and to pass them on in such a way that it's not tangled up in the things that are going to be really sticky ego things for people, including ourselves.
Yeah. And one of the rules that have been given to us is dress in the manner of the people you are around. Dress in the manner of the country that you visit. And we take that to mean
Have fun, but be normal.
yeah, there is no reason.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually have a cool Sufi turban that I was required to have back in the day, and I never wear it. I keep it as a fond reminder because walking down this, there are some Sufi orders that do this. They will dress like 19th century Turks and pretend that they're dressing like the Prophet.
Epic beards.
Yeah, epic beards, humongous turbans. I don't know how they don't end up with neck pain. Those turbans are so big. And you know what? It doesn't make them any more holy. Now, if I were in the Emirates, I might dress like an Emirati under certain circumstances because either I would be going to mosque or I would be going someplace where that's the proper dress for the atmosphere, for the temperature, for everything. And it's easy to blend in.
Yeah. And this has been a conversation I've had with several people now because I wore hijab in the Emirates. I do not wear that typically at home in the States unless I'm going to a function where hijab is appropriate in a socio-cultural or religious setting. And people wonder how and why would you do that? And so we open up a discussion about what hijab means to me, about the circumstances under which I feel it's honest to wear it. But for me, that's just a persona. Hijab does not mark me as religious or non-religious inside. It's persona.
Yeah,
And
the that dress as the environment that you're in, it kind of
Yeah.
hearing it also as addressing them, also addressing the people in a way that they're also,
exactly.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
is key to my approach. 100%. Well,
Yeah. It's also part of your approach because of the kind of music that you make.
Yep.
And that's something that for a while there we were missing out on is modern, uh, deep spiritual music until we got people like Omar Farouk Teklik and Mircea Dede and people like that who took the tradition and brought it into the 21st century. So
you see the beautiful ripple effects of that. Yeah.
So to close this up, is there his hidden directorate? Maybe, maybe not. But maybe a better question is, can we behave as if quiet ethical guidance were possible and build for it? From Ibn Arabi, we keep functional sanctity and modesty about disclosure. From Bennett, we get method and reconstruction, especially over charisma. From Scott, condition architecture with a firm break on narrative itch.
Which means
Don't let the story dazzle you.
Yep.
Yeah, stay away from the what you wish were the case.
Yeah.
So again, the answer looks like visible edges and discrete cores. And the touchstone is measurably improving the lives around you. Leave people more awake, kinder, more competent. If you do that, you got it. And if on your way down the street tomorrow, someone in green taps you on the shoulder and adjusts your thinking by a couple of degrees, accept the gift. But don't just hand over your passwords. So that's what we got for tonight.
Yeah. And there are so many ways we can enact this here and now. So many ways that we may struggle with a little bit too, and that's okay. That's part of the work.
So we learned anything?
Yeah, what have we learned, guys? Big or small, all is good.
I'm just comparing all this to my teenage infatuation with the Golden Dawn, Hidden Masters, grade systems, pompous titles, and sort of narcissistic in clubs that don't really do anything for the world. So I can actually, and I'll just be reiterating everything you've said so far. I can appreciate it. I think it's sound. I think it's demonstrably sound. So, yeah, there's my vote of confidence.
Your other questions we'll answer once we finish with the recording.
Yeah. Thank you, James. Yeah.
And Alka, take care of yourself.
Have a good time. And yes. RM says, I guess AI needs Khidr's correction.
That would be interesting.
Can't argue with that. I mean, if you can get in there, mess with it a little bit, welcome.
And mysterious Zoom user, do you have any thoughts or questions or answers? Because we love answers.
She says, thanks for letting me join. I'm still learning and am very brand new, so understandable. Yeah, this was a lot. This was kind of a heavy one. We talked about a lot of different things that we touched on over the years in various different talks. And yeah, if you want to reach out to us well, we'll see first of all after the video if we can pick out a few previous talks we've done that might help
yeah, but most
give some
importantly,
background.
remember, being new just means that you're not conditioned.
Yes. She says, I like it, and this is great, so I will keep listening. And yes, suggestions are great. Okay, cool. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to flip us over to Brady Bunch mode. There we go.
Gallery. Yay, Brady Bunch mode. Well, does anyone have any last thoughts they want to add before we wrap up? You guys have offered some really cool insights.
Yeah.
Thank you for
As
sharing.
always, it's you guys who make this worth doing.
Yes. And RM, thanks for being out there. All right. So, yes, James.
Just one minor point in Robert Anton Wilson's book, Masks of the Illuminati. This guy's
Tell the
getting put
story.
through the gold, and as he gets put through the Golden Dawn grade system and its mythology, he sort of picks up the habit of trying to interpret or see if anyone he meets is a hidden master. And because of this, he starts to pay more attention to people in their actuality, and he starts to wake up a bit.
Yeah.
I thought I don't know if that's what the Golden Dawn intended. I doubt it, but that's certainly an interesting
Well, actually, that is what old Bob intended for that thing.
Oh, I'm sure old Bob did, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the original, but the Golden Dawners, but yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't necessarily part of the original Golden Dawn.
No. No,
Yeah,
no.
Crowley did something like that, but Bob changed it a little bit.
Yeah. Hmm.
I found it interesting how much RAW focused on Crowley.
Oh, yeah, he absolutely loved Crowley because Crowley's crazy.
Yeah,
Crowley is the epitome of chaos.
yeah,
There's a posthumously published book that's basically a biography of Crowley. It's The Lion of Light or something like that, cobbled together from a bunch of his talks, which is quite good.
So, shall we wrap up?
Let's wrap up.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, everyone. Whether you're hanging out with us live or watching on the replay, we really do appreciate you being here. And we will be here next week, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time on Sunday. Take good care.
And it'll be weird.
Yeah, as always. Bye.
Take care, folks.